Hi, this is Stephanie Stevenson, otherwise known as Watercolor Artiste, and I'm the artist known as midlifeartist.com. Um, that's my website as well. Um, I haven't done a live stream since before Charlie Kirk's assassination. It's been a struggle to even think about doing one since then. Um, Plus, so many things are happening in the past couple of weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it's been now. And as you can see, I'm sitting down at my desk. I got my big canvas ready to go. I worked on it some last night. I'm going to work on it some today. And I figured while I was working on it, I could do two things at once, and that is a live stream and talk about the recent art events that I partook in, as well as the future art events I had aspirations for, uh, and what it all means, what happened, what's going to happen or not happen, and things like that. So I'm going to try to paint while I talk. I don't know how much painting I'm going to get done, um, but we will see. Uh, but in any case, I hope you're having a good weekend. It's a beautiful Sunday here in Northwest Georgia. And the painting I have here is a 36-inch by 24-inch canvas of Dancers by the Sea. Um, and it's definitely a work in progress. It's not anywhere near I want it to be. You'll see the source picture here in a few minutes. I'll share that with you. Um, it's essentially blocking in colors. So let me go ahead and switch to the webcam video. You can see, again, this is 36 by 24 inch. And we have a sea down here and a distant hilltop in the distance, a sun either setting or rising. And we got dancers that are dancing on a white, clean platform by the sea. So I'm working on that. I think I'm going to try to work on this area of the canvas. This is the area of the canvas that has me most intimidated, and so it's obviously the one part or section of canvas that I have not touched much. So I think I'm going to take a different tact and try to touch on that side of the canvas mostly during this session. But before I get underway, I'd like to talk about the recent events. Um, I had been, if you've been following me at all, um, you would know then that I have been working to get uh, ready for and participate in the Cahutta Street Dance, which was local to me. And it was my first tent event of any kind. It wasn't art centric, it was more community centric. So there was more music and dancing, a variety of vendors, but certainly not focused on the art aspect or the art community. It just generalized. And our small little community is doing a lot to kind of revitalize our small little town, its downtown area. And so it was a great event for that. Um, and if you, like I said, if you've been watching me, you know I've spent a lot of money on print inventory. I spent money on tent, logistic equipment, um, trying to get some artwork done, getting it get a lot of my watercolors matted and framed, signage, everything entailed for this event. And it took a lot more money than I anticipated. And hi, Frosty. I I just saw you on my phone. I got my phone set up with the Rumble chat. So if you're in Rumble and you're in the chat, I should be able to see you over there. So hi. Um, yeah, I'm doing an impromptu live stream. This is what I do because I'm not good. I mean, I'm good at planning, but when it comes to the online stuff, the online streaming, the online videos, I'm just not good at. I mean, I had spent hours working on just creating a video to talk about what I'm going to talk about now, and I never got it finished, and I lost not interest, but passion in trying to finish it. And yet I need to get this information out. So I need to get it out of my system. I need to kind of move on from it. And I thought this would be cathartic to do. So, hi, Frosty. Thanks again for joining. So, anyway, let me share with you a picture of the tent event. There it is. So if you're looking now, you should see this is a picture of the tent, my tent set up during the day. It was an event that started at 6 p.m. and we had to get there for no earlier than 4 to start setting up. And I took about an hour and a half to essentially get that tent and all the artwork and everything up. And that was with uh, helping hands. My husband and our friend and his girlfriend showed up uh, right at 4 o'clock to help us. We didn't know they were coming that early, and we didn't know they were coming to help, and we were just grateful that they did. And Tony and Sherry, thank you. Thank you. If you're watching, Sherry, thank you. And thank you for buying a print as well. Um, but yeah, this is the daytime photo. This is how I designed my tent to look like initially. And this is what I was working on in my basement in the weeks leading up to this event. This is how I set it up in my basement and say, okay, this looks like it might be the best layout. And so that's what I did. And you can see it looks pretty good. It gives you a way to walk in, look up close at the artwork on the walls, gives you a chance to walk on either side of that table and look at the prints. I had 4 bins, a small and a larger bin on each side. Each bin on one side mirrored the bins on the other. So multiple people could be looking at prints at the same time and still have room to walk around. At least that was my thinking. And what's interesting is that I adjusted this tent a little bit by the time I was done for the evening. So let me turn that off. So here's the nighttime view. If you look a little bit more carefully, you'll see that my bins are different now on the table. They're actually, I took the stuff that was on the front of the table and moved it to the back. I put the bins towards the front of the table, still leaving ways to walk on each side because I wanted people to feel welcome to walk into the tent. And I felt if I put the table like a long ways at the front of the tent, it would act like a wall and keep people from coming into the tent to look at the artwork up close or even to talk to me. So I really wanted people to feel like they could walk in. So I limited myself to the layout of that table being the way it was, and I moved the bins forward. And then you see my big print easel thing on the left side of that photo. I moved it out of the tent and kind of kitty corner so people could walk up to it. And the reason I did this is I watched as people approached my tent throughout the couple of hours we were there, and they would look at the tent, look like they might want to walk into the tent, but just couldn't bring themselves to breach that threshold, and I didn't know why. So I thought, well, if I can focus towards the end of the table, bring that big print bin out, people will be more interactive. It actually turned out that that was helpful. So I wasn't completely tied into the layout, but clearly putting the table in the middle is probably not going to be the long-term solution. I'm probably going to have to put that table up against one wall or the other on a future event. But yeah, I overall for my first event, thank you, Frosty. Uh, I don't know if you're hearing how I had to kind of modify the layout somewhat. And if you look on the right-hand panel to the right of the table in this picture, you see a cowboy print kind of close to the front on that front panel, on that right panel there. That wasn't up initially either, but it was a blank spot, and people walking from the left to the right saw more blank wall than and less artwork. And so I decided to put one of my big cowboy prints up on that right panel. Um, so so yeah, and then it was a well-attended event. You can see this is just one of the many pictures I took, but this picture that you see here shows a bunch of people. You bring your own chair. So a lot of people had their fold out chairs slung over their shoulders, and they just found a spot and parked it. And just beyond that red tent in the picture was the opening to this new building in town, which was built over the old police station that burned down. It's called the building's called the Depot, and in the middle of the depot is like this open air um, walk pass through. It's also a place for trucks to load and everything, so it makes a good staging. And they staged the country music and the music people there, and they played their music from there. There was a spot where dancers came to do some dancing and the like, and so everyone kind of congregated there to listen. And I was the where I was standing when I took this picture was right in front of my tent. So you could see that my tent was not exactly in the middle of everything, but that's okay. I wasn't furthest away either. And across the way from this building and behind the crowd was a couple of food vendors as well. So small little town, small community, but big turnout for such a small community. And so that was the street dance. I am not unhappy at all with how it turned out. Again, I had two goals. One, to try to set up my tent, and two, to take pictures of my tent because part of the process of applying to the big event I wanted to do in May of next year called Artisphere was I had to have a picture of my tent set up. And of course, never having done one, I needed to have a tent event to take pictures, and this was it. So again, go through the process and take pictures. Those were my primary goals. If I sold prints on top of that, that was, to me was a cherry on top. It was a bonus, even though ultimately down the road, that's going to be my main goal with these types of events is to sell art, to sell artwork, to sell art prints. And so this was just on the road to getting there. So it was not an unsuccessful tent event. In fact, it was a great learning experience. It also taught me the limits of my physical stamina, which I was surprised. Putting up a tent, putting up tent walls, putting up artwork, and then, being tense the whole time. 4-hour event, but it turned out to be 6 to 7 hours for me uh, because of setup and takedown. The next day was a Sunday, and I had to take the entire day to recoup, and I slept more than I was awake. And I was surprised at how much it took out of me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if this is just a 4-hour event locally, what does a 3-day weekend look like for me? And am I realistically thinking I can handle that? And the answer at that moment was no. And I think still at this moment, as I'm videotaping or live streaming this, I'm thinking I'm not ready for the May show, but there's other things going on. So let me explain what Artisphere is. Artisphere. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Let me just bring this down here. Let me make this bigger so you can see. So Artisphere on its website. Artisphere is a big, professional, art-centric, 3-day over the weekend kind of event that's been happening for years and years. And the only reason I found out about it is that my dad, who used to live in Greenville, told me about it and really felt that I would be successful in getting into it and getting a lot out of it. And even on their Facebook page, they say artists who participate average about $18,000 in sales. And I'm like, holy Toledo, that's something I should try for. And exactly everything I've been doing for these weeks leading up to the tent event, here in town, was in preparation to meet the goal, take a picture for this event for the application process. And so, you see how they're calling all artists and how they're selling it to artists, which is great. And those who've been doing this for a long time and know what they're doing, they can handle this thing. Unfortunately for me, I haven't. I'm still kind of, even though I'm in my 50s or so, I am definitely out of my element. Um, I've never done an event like that, but I was willing to do it if I could get in. And of course, it's juried. And so you have to apply, you have to pay to apply, and actually, there's a whole bunch of rules. So one of the rules here is each application costs, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but I opened up their um, application and started to look at how I needed to fill it out. And I came across some of this tent policy. And if you look at this uh, rule or set of rules, um, they're saying for safety reasons, pop-up tents are not allowed. And I did not know this. And all these weeks leading up to this tent event that I was preparing for, uh, I have a pop-up tent. It's what I could afford. And it had never been used up until this point. And so it was brand new in the box. And I got tent weights and things like that. I wish I had known this sooner. And I guess if you don't know what to ask, you don't know what to look for, you don't see these things until you go to apply, and then suddenly there's these rules. Especially if you've not been in this part of the art marketing system where you're doing tent events and festivals and things like that. If you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know what to ask questions about, you're not going to look for these types of things. You're assuming a pop-up tent is sufficient. You've got the tent weights, right? And so you're thinking, oh, I'm good to go. Well, I'm not, because right there they say for safety reasons of our artists and patrons, no pop-up tents will be allowed on the festival site. And in addition, what tent you do have, you have to have 40-pound minimum for each tent leg for weights to prevent it from blowing away. I'm understanding the tent weight thing. I think I've got tent weights for my pop-up at 25 pounds each. I'd have to actually check my tent weights because I use pebble stone in them. So I might be at the 40-pound weight and not even know it. But still, I've got a pop-up tent. So what's the problem with the pop-up tent? Just get a regular tent, right? Well, a regular tent for these types of things runs at the low end, base minimum, probably no walls included, is just the tent itself kind of thing. It's probably, it runs about $1,600 at minimum. And then if you need walls and you need some more accessories, they can get upwards of 3,500 to $4,000 in just tent expense alone. And it's not pop up, it requires putting together, it's pipes, it's, I don't know everything about it, but it's definitely not the ease of a pop up. Well, given that I spent my wad on everything else that I was doing for this tent event just to get the pictures I needed for this application, I had no money left. I have no money left. I had no extra money. I'm not going to dip into my emergency fund for this. Uh, Even if I were to apply, the deadline for the application for Artisphere is tomorrow, October 6th. Um, and this is just the first of many problems that I would have to overcome, is even if I got through the jury process, I don't have a tent that would qualify. And if you miss any of their rules, or you bypass any of their rules, or you think you can get by with what you have and you try to do it anyway, and they decide that you broke their rules, not only will you be kicked out, but you would be banned or not invited to apply for years before you could try again, if at all. And so they're very stringent, which I can understand because they've been doing it for years. They know what people try to get away with and what they don't. I'm not one of those people that will try to get away with anything. I will follow the rules. And that's why I won't be able to apply for this event. And it depresses me. I'm deflated because um, this is something my dad wanted me to do. And I wanted to do it because dad turned me on to this event. And I know that my dad believes in me. And I feel a little bit like a failure that I can't apply for this, but it's just for this year. You know, it just puts my feet back on the ground and tells me, try next year. So, and I'm just telling you, the tent is just the first of many things. It says at the bottom of the screenshot, only original artwork may be displayed on booth walls. Nothing else, no extraneous signage other than maybe your identifying, uh, banner. So none of your extraneous signage. And I don't have enough artwork to meet that rule either. Um, some people are like, yeah, you do. You got the watercolors and you got the cowboy. You got all those paintings that you've shown over the past year or 2 years. And I do have all of those. And it leads me to my next problem. And again, I'm not complaining here. I'm just identifying the issues that I'm faced with. Let me make this bigger so you can see. So the application is $45 per application. And you can apply, its application is per category. So category meaning medium. So if you are a watercolor artist exclusively, then you apply for the watercolor category once, $45. If you do more than watercolor and you do oil painting and you want to represent in both mediums, you would have to do a separate application for $45 for the oil or oil and acrylic as it were. If you've got mixed media and you do that as well, you would have to do an app, if you wanted to represent in all those mediums. And if you know me, you know that I have been just kind of bebopping along, doing all these different mediums, trying to find where yeah, I go by watercolor artiste, but you know how long I've had that internet moniker? I've had that for 20 years because when I came out of college, I fancied watercolor. And so I always thought that would be my medium of choice. I had no idea that I would lay dormant for decades because I was a wife and mother first, and now that the kids are all grown up and in their own lives, I've come into becoming an artist all these years later, and I'm doing oils and I'm doing acrylics and I'm doing mixed media. So I'm exploring oil pastels. I didn't even touch oil pastels in college, and I was scared to death of those things, and now I'm not. And so I'm just doing artwork in all these mediums, but in any one medium, I don't have a lot of artwork that would fill up 3 tent walls. I don't have enough in watercolor. I don't have enough in mixed media collage. I have sold a couple of those paintings, uh, uh, and I don't have enough to backfill to cover 3 walls. I don't have enough of oil pastel. I only explored that this year, so I'm looking at all the artwork that I have. My body of work is too diversified because if I were to go for, let's say, 2, watercolor and maybe mixed media collage, which is the mixed media 2D, I would have to be able to pass the jury process for both of those to even have a chance of covering 3 walls of a tent with original artwork for sale. And I don't. And if I apply for 2 and they only jury and I successfully pass 1, then I'm left with a gaping hole of wall space and only a couple months time to fill it. I don't know how I would do that with me doing it part time. So to say I just don't have enough artwork to cover that. So given those things, um, I won't be able to apply for Artist Fair this year. And I've been sitting on that all week, well, for the past week and a half. And um, I'm disappointed. And so I thought, well, maybe there's something closer. Maybe there's an art festival. There's art festivals in North Georgia that happen. I missed the deadline for the Blue Ridge LJ one, which would be, I think, 2 days and closer. Uh, Similar in scope and stature, not as expensive to participate in, but still juried nonetheless. they still had no pop-up tent. So that was an automatic disqualifier for me at this time. Um, but I had already passed the deadline by the time I looked for it. I looked at some other events. One event said didn't preclude pop-ups, but they said that your tent had to be white. Well, I don't have a white tent. So, okay, and then that deadline passed. So at this point, I'm I'm thinking, well, being at the tail end of the summer art festival season, yeah, we're coming into the fall festival season, but those deadlines either have come and gone or we're on their doorstep, and they either have similar or exact rules to follow, and I'm just not in a space. So all that is to say, and it sounds like I'm complaining, and I am in a way, but at the same time, I'm just presenting the reality that I'm in. Yes, I put out a lot of work. I put up a lot of money. And part of me feels deflated because it feels like it was all for naught. But I know in my heart it's not for naught because I can always try for these things next year. I know to look several months in advance for these events and figure out what their deadlines are. And in the time between now and next year or next spring, I got to be looking at springtime events and see if I can find anything that will allow me a pop up, that will allow some leniency. So it's probably not going to be art centric. But events like that, that I can still participate, get practice in, uh, that's one goal between now and then. The other goal is to create artwork, lots of it, over the coming months of maybe one or two mediums. I don't want to be laser focused on one or two mediums, but if I'm going to do the work in this art space of art festivals, and if they're all going to have the same kind of rules, and when you start looking at them on the ZAP, ZAPP, it's a website that these professional art festivals use to process applications. You start looking at the different application rules and regulations, and they're kind of mirroring and mimicking each other. So they all have similar rules. So in order to get professional, I've got to get to where I can comply with those rules. That's a chasm that is fiscal and body of work challenged right now. So that's what I've got to focus on. I've got to focus on smaller, more localized events that are not art centric, that don't have these stringent rules that I can continue to practice tent events on. At the same time, create as much artwork in these coming winter months as possible so that I have enough artwork in any one or two mediums to fill 3 tent walls. So yeah, I've got goals. I've had to adjust. I'm dealing with a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. Um, but yeah, so I'm not going to be able to apply to Artisphere this year. It's just not realistic. I don't want to lose $45 per application uh, and then have to decline because I just don't have it for this year. So, and with all that said, I'm going to get to painting. And this is a painting that I saw an image on Pexels.com, which is free to use photographs. They're not licensed. You're free to use them. I saw an image. I wasn't going to use the exact same image. I kind of did a flip of it. I adjusted some of the contrast and the colors because I want this eventually to be a play between the oranges and the blues of the image and with pops of other color. But if I do this one right, um, this is could easily be one of my favorite paintings. And I started off in acrylic, and now I'm working on the paint. The background sky was more pink, but last night I worked on bringing in some more peaches instead because that's really more representative, more oranges than, and now I want to start working on this area of the composition today. Like I said, this is the area of the composition that is most intimidating to me. And so I'm going to work on it. So what does this image look like? Well, let's see. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see first. But this is the image oops, come on now. There we go. So this is the image I came up with from the original. This is not true to the original. Again, I didn't want to just take someone's photograph and copy it per se. I wanted to make it my own. So I did do a reverse mirror image on it. And then I did some effects with the Pixlr app. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Is it Pixlr, or did I do it with my phone app, my phone camera? I can't remember, but it's either one of these where I took and played around with contrast and different color schemes. And I liked this one because you've got a play of orange against the blue. You've got movement. You've got beauty. Um, you may not know this about me, but early in my teens, I was a dancer. I grew up as a dancer. I did tap, ballet, jazz, baton. I did all of that stuff back in the day. You wouldn't know it by looking at me today, but that is my source picture. That's what I'm working with. And as you can see, I'm blocking in. I'm going to make this smaller. Okay. I'm blocking the colors in on my painting. And I'm going to close that up there. Um, all right, then. Let's try this again. Get that smaller. There we go. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on. I really want to get that sense of atmosphere. I want to get those bright oranges and yellows of skin tones with the dancers. I really want to get a sense of their movement. I think I'm on my way with it. But that's the plan. And again, like I said, today I'm going to try to focus in on that. I got to open up my source picture so that I can see it bigger on my screen while I am live streaming. So I'm going to find it and put it up big on my screen. Behind the scenes, what you won't see ever, because I'm a mess. Absolutely. I'm a mess. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Tell you, I'm having a day. Are you guys all right out there? You guys doing okay? It's been a rough couple of weeks. I just finished a watercolor from my coworker who passed away days after Charlie Kirk's assassination. So kind of whiplashed. She was a friend, and I'm not going to be able to be up there for her celebration of life, which was happening this weekend for her family, and then there's one for our workplace. But I did a watercolor in memory of her, and I've got that. Let me see if I can get that. I got that matted yesterday. I'm going to get it sent up to my workplace. Let me just see if I can show you. Yeah. So, oops, it's in plastic. I don't really want to take it out of the plastic because they taped it up good. But if you're on my True Social, you saw the finished product. I'm thinking I might do a remarque painting, small little painting of a indigo bunting, maybe, kind of perched on the top of the mat, looking down into the composition. She loved indigo buntings as well as cardinals. So I was thinking of doing something kind of creative on the mat. This would be a 16 by 20 frame size, and this will end up going up on the walls at work. So I'm honored that they were okay with me doing a painting for that. And so that's going to be for my friend Louise. And so, yeah, I did that this week. Now I got to get back to this one. And again, I'm doing this painting because I liked it. I liked the image. I'm doing it for my body of work. It's big. I like to kind of work bigger rather than smaller. And so, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. So, with all that said, and with all that time spent talking, I'm going to try to do some painting here. Let me see about my screenshot here. I'm going to zoom in to that section of the composition and see if I can't keep that up tall. There's a lot of orangey pinks in that part of the composition that's down here. So I'm going to try to work on defining some of that. There's a lot of ruffles in her dress, and I really can't get caught up, bogged down in details of ruffles when it's not that much of a close-up. So I got to try to capture the dress with color and certain contrast. Let me see what I got for colors here. I do have oranges. So let's see. I do have some good color here already. And I do have some down here. I'm not sure I'm going to capture the ruffles without trying to bring in some detail, but we'll see. And she's got a leg here, the leg that would be closest to the viewer, and then she's got a leg pointing forward that you wouldn't be able to pick up on if it weren't so. I have it zoomed in. So let's see here. Maybe I'll come in with a medium orange, bring in some of these darks that I see. So I've got this is the underside of this dress that's kind of swishing around. And then there's some pinkish. I gotta get some pinks going. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that. I don't really want pink per se, but it is a pinkish look to it. Let's see. But again, I want to highlight more of an orangey or salmon kind of look to this to contrast against the blue. And then there's going to be obviously some purples. But yeah, so that's kind of what's been happening with me. I've been a little reticent to try any new artwork, and then if I do new artwork, what kind of artwork am I going to do, because I need to keep it within one or two kinds of mediums. If I want to try for this thing next year, I need to really build up a body of work. It has to be good. It can't be rushed. You know, all those things that it has to be. That it has to be. Here I am. You hear me? That it has to be. And I don't know. I'm feeling a little kind of not angry per se, feeling upset. Thank you. Yes, I love doing the cardinal. Yeah, I don't know. Back in the day, Frosty, I was more of a birder. I mean, I really liked watching birds outside my office window in my home office here. And this is really darker than it appears to be. Um, and so I had bird feeders out on my front porch right outside my office window. And I had cardinals. I had, um, let's see, oh, finches, um, yellow finches. What's the other kinds out there? Shoot. Uh, Shoot, now I can't think of them. But there was a whole bunch. I even had hummingbird feeders um, in hanging out my windows, and all the hummingbirds would come. I love hummingbirds. I even got close to them for a while. Was able to um, I even once had held a hummingbird feeder in my hand, and they came fluttering so close to my hand. It was so cool. I loved it. You know, this is really a leg. I'm not paying attention to where I'm supposed to be applying this paint, so I need to pay attention. But here, a very bright orange because of the sunlight reflecting up under her dress. Really an interesting play of light on this reference photo. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to pull it back up so you can see. The source pic, and let's make it bigger. So I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it real fast. So what I'm looking at is, make it bigger, right in here in her legs. You see her forward leg, and then behind her forward leg is the more distant leg pointing forward, and between, right where her knees are, you see that slice of orange light that's reflecting from the sunset or sunrise, I'm not sure, probably sunset, um, that kind of manages to get underneath her dress and come through and highlight the far knee. If you see that, um, that's what I need to kind of get here. Um, so yeah, you see, I'm trying to, you see why that section of the of the photograph is most intimidating to me? Do you see that? Because uh, you got peach color, pastel pink, you got vibrant orange, like on the far knee. You got purples and blues, and even in the ruffles of her dress, you can see some almost like ocean green, like seafoam green, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at that, there's a variety of colors. It's very nuanced. I want to capture them, but I feel like I'm losing, you know, this is the most intimidating part of this one. I got to do it. So yeah, I like the movement in it too. I really love this image. Whoever took this photo, and I have it in the original Pexels file. Um, uh, um, let's see. I wonder if I can pull that up real fast. I'm going to make this smaller, but you see that's the part of the composition, and you see now when I make it smaller, you can see the sun is full blown on her, and then her in her movement the dress is kind of flying up. You can see her leg, and that's the shadowy area, and the shadowy area of the entire composition, you see. So I'm trying to do that with color. You can't do too much detail because it's not close enough to do that kind of detail, but I don't want to lose the ruffle of the dress. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that, but I definitely want to capture realistically what I'm seeing there. So this one's a challenge. So, and I have to be patient with the process. I tend to be impatient, like I should be able to just get it and paint it, right? Just do it, Steph. Well, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. But yeah, um, you see, that's where I'm working here, and that this is actually her leg. It's supposed to go down this way, and maybe I, instead of working small details, I just need to block in those colors first, and then wait a day for it to get kind of tacky, and then come back in and start doing nuanced details. I have to constantly remind myself to do that because I don't know about you guys, but I'm easily caught up um, doing details first, and that you get lost in that. The transition in the darker right side to the highlights would be tricky. Yeah, yeah, that's, but that, when you look at the whole composition now, I've got it, unzoomed in. I purposefully did when I was editing the photo, like I mirrored it and then I played with some of the lighting and the contrast and the coloration. I did do the darker blues at the corners for a reason. I really kind of wanted to focus in on this image with that kind of editing. And I also like the orb. It reminds me of a Bible verse where God's looking down on the sphere of the earth, the orb, the blue marble kind of beauty of the earth, and it's kind of a homage or almost like a rainbow, but there's no rainbow. So I don't know. It just everything about this appeals to me, and so I really want to do the dancers well. The background is easy enough, I think. Where you can really get that atmosphere. You know, yes, vignette. Thank you. That's the word. Vignette. Yeah, I purposefully chose a vignette in my photo editing. I don't have it as much in this lower corner yet because I want to get this defined first and then try to bring in the vignette. But the dancers are more important to me than the vignette of the source picture. But the vignette really plays a role in these others. But you can see I still will have to do a part of a vignette in this lower left hand corner here. But yeah, and again, I'm used to, my body of work is more portraits. I like to do portraiture. I like to do people. This is clearly, when you look at the source picture, you're not going to get details of their faces. So I have to make sure that when I do their faces, that they look like faces, but I can't get caught up in detail because they're too far away for detail. So this is a real challenge for me because one, it's not a portrait. Uh, Two, it's dealing with great different light dynamics. Um, and so I get caught up in details. And so this is good practice for me. And like I said, if I can get this one done right, it's going to easily be one of my favorites. So yeah. All right. So there you have that. Let me go back to my picture here real fast. Let's see. All right. So yeah, this is more of a purple under here, right up here. I really should not be afraid to do some of these darks. You know what I mean? Just do it because you can always paint over it. You know how sometimes, you get like, oh, I'm going to mess this up. Oh, I'm going to mess this up. And, well, at least that's what happens to me. uh, oh, I'm going to mess this up. So there is a spot where her knee comes up. And then the back side of her calf, like I said, I should just get those blocked in. And that way I don't get lost in details until I've actually blocked in her leg. So where's that? Where's her foot in relation? Okay. She's got a. So just block it in, Steph. Just block it in. You can paint deep, you know, paint lights and darks later. So if I got that blocked in, let's see. This other leg is mainly this bright orange. I need to see if I can. I just need a smidge of a brighter orange. I'm mixing, I did pre-mixing of oranges in different values last night on my palette. And so I'm taking a smidge of the closest value orange that I have to that part where that further away knee is. Try to locate it on my canvas here. And I need to not be afraid to pick up a different brush to do this. Let's see. Again, I tend to hold my brushes, not like this, but like this. Oop. Oh. Yeah, it's still not getting it. Not as bright as I want it. sometimes these colors are really, when they're so contrasted like this, it's really hard to get them. But I really just want to locate that. And then down here is where that foot is, her foot. And it's pointing away. And just get that blocked in. Yeah, this, as much as I'm seeing it here, laying it out here is so difficult. Do you struggle, Frosty, with this kind of thing? Ah. All right, maybe this back side of this dress. That's all kinds of purples. So let's define some of these edges. There it is. Can you see that? Okay, you can see me getting that out there. Okay. Purple there. And there's purple right behind her leg. And this is more red than purple, or, blue purple. Blocking it in, just blocking it in. Get those forms in. Her other leg coming forward. I don't know how long I've been going. Trying to keep my live streams to an hour. I know I did a lot of talking and not a lot of painting, so apologies if you were looking for more painting. But there were some things I needed to talk about first. But I feel better just getting that purple in. How about that? Let's get some of these other ruffles in. So here is a ruffle. There's a little bit of a ruffle here. And I'm just kind of touching this along the way. Just touching this. Laying them down. You can see that determines where that dress is and where it's going. And up here, there's a purple. And there's a purple. So right there, I've got that dress in definition. Now I need to find where that dress falls. And then the blue of the background of the water kind of kicks in. Let's see here. Down here, there's a definite dark blue. I think just getting this kind of blocked in will probably help me not be so scared of this corner. I get scared of the corner. I print a photo reference on paper and actually dab it onto the photo to see if the colors match. Oh, I could see where you could do that. I know that Ron, he works in Photoshop a lot, Frosty, where he will kind of identify colors he wants to use or is using, and he will harmonize them by doing on the side in the window. Yeah, I don't know how he does it all, but I watch, and he'll have the color palette that's being used, and he'll have the dropper, I guess, and um, he will definitely work that. There is a spot here where this comes. And then there's a deeper blue at the bottom. Okay, So, but yeah, no, I don't mind color mixing so much. I do end up having to do some color correction as I get through the painting, because I'll see it one way one day, and then another day when I come back to it, I'll be like, why did I paint it that? Like when I first laid down the colors of the background, it was very pink, and then I looked at my reference and I'm like, it's not that pink, Stephanie. It's actually more salmon, peachy color than it is pink. So last night I worked on the sky mostly, and then I actually had too blue of a water down here. The rough the source photo had more of a green tint in some areas, so I used a green glaze over the water, and that really came for that worked for me. So yeah, it can be color can be tricky, but they say, and I can't validate this for myself anyway. Uh, I need a bigger brush for this. Uh, you should start off with the values. So like black and white, like a grise, they call it grise French, for laying down the values first in grays and whites and blacks, and then coming over it with color to help with that. But that's more of a values thing, but I think it could also help with color. Uh, but if you do some practicing, I think with color theory, uh, on practice canvases. I've got lots of little practice canvases. Like for instance, I do of uh, the swatching of my different paints, and these are my Blue Ridge Blue Ridge oil colors from the Carolinas. And so I laid out all so I've got Kremnitz white, which is sort of like a zinc white, but it doesn't degrade and it doesn't yellow. Kremnitz white will act the same way zinc white does, but without turning yellow over time. So if you want a zinc white effect, go for Kremnitz white, by the way. And then there's titanium white, cobalt blue, ultra blue, phthalo green. So I have all of these, but then I got practice canvases. Let me see. Oh, I don't, oh, they're in the other room. But I actually use the small, thin canvases, and I will, if there's something I want to try or a color combination, and I don't want to apply it to my painting just yet, I will try it on the practice canvas. I did that with first collage papers when I first started doing collage. I practiced collaging on those. Then I practiced with um, like the paste, like the crackle paste, the fiber paste, the modeling paste. I practice on a practice canvas. Then with the gold leaf and copper leaf and all that, I practiced on a canvas. So I keep practice canvases just for that reason, is to kind of work through things that are a little bit of a challenge. Um, but I don't know how to do the Photoshop thing very well. Oh, I thought I was getting a bigger. Did I put it down? No, I did get a bigger one. Okay. Um, but yeah, I don't do the Photoshop very well. I'll ask Ron to help me with the Photoshop aspect of something. Like if I took pictures with my camera of my artwork and I needed him to have a second look at it for me, then he would take it and look at it in Photoshop because he's more of a guru on that than I am. I can I can maybe get by in a a photo software program. I used to be better at it, but in so long, I prefer hands-on, if you know what I mean. This whole thing, uh, but yeah. So yeah, you can see just by virtue of getting these purples in, I've got a good start to um, this dress. trying to just pick the colors I see in the underside of this dress. That's probably a little too bright in terms of value. So I gotta come in and just try to keep it. And I try to be definitely true to the colors that I see. But sometimes, like I said, I'll see it one way one day. I'll come back to it another day and say, why did I think it was that color? And come back over it and paint it differently. But the important thing for me is to get these figures laid, and I need to get her. Maybe I'll concentrate on her upper body here. She has a lot of bright, bright orange in her. So let's see. I got trying to find one of my smaller brushes. All right, let me get her. Let's see. I don't think I've got that. You can't see that. Let me move the source pig over my face. Here we go. And we'll shut off the webcam. So we're going to get her painted in right here. We'll get that orange in from the source picture. You can see from the source picture, she is really bright orange. It's not flesh tone. She's got bright orange because of the reflection of the sun directly on her. I love that about her. She really offsets. If you look, her being orange, if you're looking at the source picture, make it a little bigger. Get this a little bigger. Okay. There we go. Just for a second. So you see here, you see how bright orange she is in the source picture, but juxtaposed her to this figure here. And she has dark, I wouldn't say orange, but I would say dark sandy colors. And if you got up close on the source picture, you could see areas of a deep purple, and especially in her hair. So to juxtapose her in shadow here to her in the bright sun, I think that is a wonderful play, especially when the arms kind of cross with each other. You see that. So I really love that dynamic, and I really need to make this successful. So that's my hope. But let's get her painted in. Let's see here. I gotta make a brighter orange. I'll add a little bit more yellow and white. Titanium white, of course, is very opaque, where the Kremnitz white, by the way, it really blends. It's a blending white, much like people use zinc white for. I don't use a lot of Kremnitz unless I'm actually blending on the canvas. Let's see here. I'm gonna start with, let's see. Let's get this a little bit bigger so I can see it bigger too. There we go. So up here, and again, I'm just going to block in some orange here. I'm not worried about nuance at this point. I'm just trying to get her in. I will bring in shadows later in brightest brights. I'm putting in essentially a mid-tone orange just to kind of get her laid in. But there's shadows all over the place here. And her arm kind of goes right into her neck and face area here. Neck area. And the face and the hair, that's all in orange here. A bright bright orange. Again, I'm not going for detail. I'm blocking in. Well, doing this part, Frosty, that would scare you. I know I'm delayed, so I'm not sure exactly which which part would scare the hell out of you. but uh, but yeah, this is, and then her shoulders right here. Again, this is not the brightest bright, and it's certainly not the darkest dark, but the kind of middle value is what I'm doing here. But I'm getting a laid in. You can tell it's not very bright, or I'm not very bright. Let's see here. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that it's amazing when you do a you do a mid-tone and then you bring in a lighter tone. Uh, it makes a difference. And she is just all lit up on the front. You can tell this is all going to be dark because of the color of her hair. But yeah, this is kind of scary. Yeah, I get it, Frosty. That's why this side of the painting has scared me. But the fact of the matter is, I really, looking at the source picture as I have it right up on the screen, her brightness, her in shadow with just this arm really kind of mirroring. So we got her as well. And I'm trying to capture the essence of it now, so that way, when I come back in, I can stay true to that. Even her hair up here has. And again, these might not be the exact colors they need to be, and that's okay. I'm trying to kind of do a value placement at this point. A value placement. This is helpful, doing this on live stream and kind of talking about it as I go, because I never think about cognitively what I'm doing until I'm forced to describe what I'm doing. And then I'm like, oh, the reason I'm doing this is, it's like, oh, okay. Otherwise, I don't think I'd be able to tell you why I did it unless I was doing it right now on live stream. And like I said, I'm just kind of laying in. And now that I look at it, and her arm seems awfully straight. But that's because I haven't done darks. I haven't defined that edge. So so yeah, like I said, blocking in can be scary stuff. Really scary stuff. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And then she's got a pinky, and then her arm has a little bit of a, she's got some brightness here as well. She's got, so yeah, I'm just trying to get some definition here. Trying to get some things going. All right, so now when I'm looking at her ruffles on her dress, some of the dress ruffles here match some of the coloring in her arm. So I'm going to come back with what the color I've just been working with, and I'm going to come over. You see what I'm saying? I start off thinking it's one color, but then when I look at it from another aspect of the painting, I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of similar to what I was just working in. And so that leads me to changing the color of what I see from the pink to a more peachy kind of color. That's getting the term peachy keen. Okay, maybe not, but so you see what I mean? I'm seeing one color when I start, but then as I'm going through, I see a different color. Again, I have a lot of pinks here, but when I'm looking right now at this source photo, I'm seeing more of a peachy look. I'm going to kind of get some of that peachy look to it. And that really starts to show that the sun is coming off of her. This really brings out this color, this corner of the painting where I didn't have that before. It needs a lot of work still, but like this part here, that's a shadowy area. But if you were to do that Photoshop dropper thing on her dress, it's not super dark, I don't think. It's more, let's see, what is that? Let's see. It's a blue, but it doesn't seem to be all that dark because it's a white dress, not not a blue dress. None none of these are really colorful dresses. They're all white, but they have blue ribbons holding areas or whatever. But the sun really plays off of the white in ways that a lot of people who aren't trained to see color well, like down in here, there's actually some pink in her corset part of her. Let's see. Very, very whitish pink. Like right here is kind of a pink. Again, I didn't see that when I first started drawing. So, and I just got to make sure I capture the right kind of value. So you see, I am still blocking in. I got to do that with some of these others. Let me make this back to, so you can see how bright these on the left side are. Right here. So the, well, I don't have that up, but I guess I need to make it smaller. But you see, all right, here we go. There we go. So over here, I've got one dancer in front of the other. I got a bright, bright dress here, and still a bright dress here. And even though I put her in pink, there's really not a lot of pink there. This back dress of the back dancer, you know. So when you look at that, the source picture versus my painting, there's a lot of color in her face that I don't have yet. There's the brightest part of her arm that I haven't really captured yet. You know, I haven't defined this hand up here like I see it yet. So there's still a lot of work, especially on the middle dancer as well. So, so yeah, but yeah, this is just, I really, really love this image and I really, really want to capture it. So that's my plan anyway. Right. But yeah, so there we go. But I've gone over an hour, I think I have. Yeah, and I don't like to, I don't really want to go longer than an hour if I can help it. At the most, an hour and a half. But I got to say what I needed to say. Thank you, Frosty, for joining me. I really appreciate it. Let me go back to Cam. So thank you for joining me, for listening to me rant about what's happened in the past couple of weeks versus what I can and cannot do going forward, at least right at this moment in time. But I've got a plan uh, going forward that I just really need to take one more year to really put my nose to the grindstone, make as much art as I can, quality art, in one or two mediums. So I'm going to probably focus. Oh, I'm not sure. Uh, I know I'm going to still do watercolors because I do that for Ron's game. So, and sometimes when I need to put out a quicker um, artwork, like I did for my coworker's memorial, I did that in about a week. Uh, Much faster I can do a watercolor than I could do something like this. This takes me a while. Um, but I think watercolor and then maybe oil and acrylic, as much as I love to do uh, collage, I'm really kind of loving doing the acrylic and then oil here and then the watercolor. So I think those are the two mediums I'm going to try to keep pumping out artwork with in an effort to be able to fill up tent walls for next year. Um, I'm not giving up. I'm just putting the brakes on. So yeah, I cried a little. I thank you, Frosty. I appreciate you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Um, but yeah, I really hope this turns out. I really like this image. I really want to have a nice painting of it um, with my style coming through, whatever that is. I'm not exactly sure yet what my style is, but uh, but yeah, by the time this is done, I really want it to be. I want people to say "wow" when they see it. And then I can feel like I did that image justice. You know, I'm a dancer from my history, but I haven't danced in a long time. I love the movement of the image. I wanted to capture it in painting, and I love the sunset or the sunrise hour. It has all the elements, right? So that's why I picked it. And then I just played a little bit with more contrast and more coloration to have the orange playing off of the blue. So yeah. So yeah, we'll see how this goes, Frosty, right? Again, thank you for watching. If you watched live with me and just kind of lurked in the background watching, thanks for joining. And if you didn't, that's okay. You're catching this on replay. I appreciate that as well. So anyway, thanks for listening to me. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. I feel a little bit lighter for it. And I'm going to just keep working on this. So thanks again. Have a great rest of your Sunday and a good week ahead. And I hope everyone's doing great.